After 15 years at Innovate Tech, I sat in the cold, sterile conference room, listening to Margaret Lane, the Director of Human Resources, as she calmly announced that my position was being restructured. Her voice carried a barely concealed sense of satisfaction. Seated across from me, she was joined by John Davis, the Senior VP of Operations. Both wore the kind of well-practiced corporate expressions that suggested they had rehearsed for this moment. "The company is heading in a new direction," Margaret continued, sliding a thick envelope across the table. "Your contributions have been appreciated, but the development team is being consolidated under the new business strategy." I took the envelope without opening it. Inside, I knew I would find the typical severance package: 2 weeks' pay for every year of service, continued health coverage for 3 months, and a list of career counseling services I would never use. "I understand completely," I replied, my voice steady. "I know decisions like this are never easy." The quick relief that flickered across their faces was a clear sign they'd been expecting something different, perhaps anger or tears. After all, I was a 53-year-old woman being pushed out of the technology industry, a sector where youth and fresh ideas were often valued more than experience. But what they didn't know was that I had been expecting this moment for weeks. Ever since an email thread had mistakenly landed in my inbox, outlining the company's plans to phase me out, I had seen it coming. Margaret continued, gaining confidence from my composed response. "We'd like you to clear out your office by Friday," she said, "and return your keycard, laptop, and phone before you leave. Your team will be informed this afternoon." My team, the engineers I had recruited, mentored, and built up from the ground. The same team that had worked alongside me to develop the cutting-edge algorithm that powered Innovate Tech's flagship product, the DataSphere software, currently being used by some of the largest corporations in the world. "Of course," I said, rising from my chair. "Is there anything else?" Margaret and John exchanged a brief, surprised glance. Clearly, they hadn't expected me to handle this with such composure. "That's all for now," Margaret said, her voice now tinged with forced professionalism. "Thank you for making this transition as smooth as possible." As I walked back to my office, I passed the glass-walled conference room where the executive team was meeting. Through the transparent barrier, I could see CEO Alan Pierce gesturing animatedly, leading a discussion about Q3 revenue projections. This was the same Alan Pierce who had taken credit for my algorithm at last year's tech conference, introducing me only as one of our senior engineers. I closed my office door and pulled out my personal phone, sending a quick message to Simon Holt, the CEO of Pinnacle Systems, our company's largest competitor. "It's happening. Friday is my last day." The reply came immediately. "Perfect timing. The contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize the details." I smiled, glancing at my calendar. Today was Wednesday. Friday would mark my departure from Innovate Tech, but Monday would be something else entirely. The turning point. That evening, I met Simon at the Granite Room, a sleek, upscale restaurant far from Innovate Tech's headquarters. As the CEO of Pinnacle Systems, Simon understood the importance of discretion. He had reserved a private dining alcove, shielded from the prying eyes of others by elegant partitions. "They actually did it," Simon said, shaking his head in disbelief after we ordered. "I suspected they might. But to cut the very person who created their core technology?" "Alan never really understood what I created," I replied, sipping my wine. "He saw the product implementation, the user interface, the marketing potential, but the underlying architecture, that was just textbook stuff to him." The irony of the situation was almost too much to bear. 3 months earlier, I had discovered that the patent application for my distributed processing algorithm had never been filed by the company's legal team. An oversight, they claimed. But when I pressed, their response had been too evasive. prompting me to check the internal documentation. That's when I found a strategy memo outlining the company's plan to claim the algorithm as company-developed technology, without any attribution to me as the inventor. They intended to push me out before securing the patent, knowing that intellectual property developed by employees typically belonged to the company. But what they didn't know was that I had been working on refinements to the algorithm on my own time, using my personal equipment. These improvements, which boosted processing efficiency by 43%, were not covered by my employment agreement. I had already filed the patent under my own name, quietly, in secret. The patent had been granted, and I had Simon's help. He'd introduced me to a top-tier IP attorney to make sure everything was finalized. The deal. All the paperwork is finalized, Simon said, sliding a folder across the table. As soon as you sign, Pinnacle Systems will acquire exclusive licensing rights to your patent. The press release goes out Monday morning, announcing you as our new Chief Innovation Officer. I flipped through the documents, already familiar with the key terms. A 7-figure signing bonus, substantial equity in Pinnacle Systems, and ongoing royalties from all products using my algorithm. What do you think Alan will look like when he realizes what's happened? Simon asked, unable to hide his satisfaction. I'm more concerned about my team, I admitted. They don't deserve to be caught in the fallout. Simon nodded. It's already been addressed. We have positions for all 6 of them if they're interested. Senior roles with significant raises. I signed the final page, securing my future, protecting my team, and securing ownership for my work. New beginnings were on the horizon. The fallout Thursday and Friday passed quickly in a blur of exit interviews, knowledge transfer meetings, and saying goodbyes to colleagues. I maintained my professional composure throughout, even as rumors swirled across the office. On my final exit interview on Friday afternoon, Denise from HR went through the standard checklist with her usual robotic efficiency. You understand that any intellectual property developed during your employment remains the property of Innovate Tech? She asked, sliding a non-disclosure agreement across the table. Of course, I replied, pleasant as ever. Anything developed within the scope of my employment, using company resources, during company time, I emphasized, knowing full well my algorithm had never been developed during company time. The last day. By the time I packed up my office, saying my final goodbyes to colleagues and leaving behind the few personal items I had accumulated over the years, family photos, conference badges, and a coffee mug given to me by my team at Christmas, I realized that I was finally free. The rise of a new legacy. The press release went out on Monday at 7 a.m., and by 9:15 a.m., I received my first text from my former team. Chaos had erupted at Innovate Tech. Alan had tried to downplay the loss of their intellectual property, but the company's stock had already started to plummet. By noon, industry analysts had begun writing about the tech crisis surrounding Innovate Tech's inability to protect its core technology. Meanwhile, Pinnacle Sachaki Sarin Sabi Sakurchin, In Chikizo and Sun Banakakshin. The rest in Chim, Sabam Spas Orichis or Os was in thriving. The press conference at the Women in Tech Leadership Summit, I took the stage as the new Chief Innovation Officer at Pinnacle Systems. The press had already picked up on the revolutionary changes we were bringing to the industry. Thank you for that kind introduction, I said, surveying the audience. Today, I want to talk about innovation, ownership, and why proper recognition is key to the future of technology. Innovation isn't just about what we build, it's about who we are and how we're recognized for it. Final reflection. As I walked off the stage, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Simon. Looks like we've made our mark, he said. Pinnacle Systems had surpassed Innovate Tech's valuation for the first time. I smiled. In the end, it was never about revenge. It was about recognizing your own worth and ensuring that your contributions are never erased. The story of Kira Jennings provides us with an invaluable lesson about self-confidence and personal rights in the workplace. Despite being unfairly laid off, Kira did not let herself fall. Instead, she resiliently stood up for herself, fully harnessing her own value, and eventually gained the recognition she deserved not only at work, but in life. This story emphasizes that no one else can define your worth but you. Sometimes failure is just an opportunity to start over stronger and claim the position you truly deserve. Kira proved that when you prioritize your own value, nothing or no one can stop you from achieving success. If you found this story inspiring and it has helped you reevaluate your own worth, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more motivational stories and valuable life lessons. We will continue to share stories like this that help you overcome challenges and build the future you deserve. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our upcoming videos. We're here to support you on your journey to growth and success. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.